Hi, welcome back to my channel. And this is not only a sound off on RHOP, this is also a sound off on all the Twitter shenanigans going on off the season. Let's get into it. Okay, so I know I've been MIA since the new year. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. But you know, your girl been down bad. This weather ain't been agreeing with me. My voice is just now starting to sound normal again. And even right now, I'm feeling a little situation going on up in the sinuses. But I'm here. I'm here. I feel like I have been summoned because there's been a lot of shenanigans on Twitter about this damn show. And I just cannot. I just can't. People have really been acting foolishly. Okay, so Sunday's episode, I'm not even sure what episode we are on at this point because it's been so long since I've done, a video. But Sunday's episode was it was a good episode. It was a step in the right direction because y'all been watching, y'all seen what's been going on. Karen's pave event, it really reminded me of why I used to really love the Grand Dame. I love how she used to throw events and, for charity and raising money and doing good things, working with the babies, working with survivors. This is the side of Karen Huger that I absolutely adore. And I'm glad we're getting to see that again because we hadn't really been seeing too much of that the last couple of seasons. However, it was really nice to see the women come together and do something positive. So for those of you who have been watching RHOP from the beginning, you might remember that season 2, Karen and Robin both shared their stories with SA. Katie also shared her stories. And I believe Ashley, I don't know if she said what happened to her, but she shared that something had happened. So that's why it's always been really weird how the topic of SA has been mishandled on this franchise, because at the time, we knew at least 4 women were survivors. We now know that Candace and Mia are also a part of the list. It's crazy that there are more women on this cast that are survivors of SA than there are not. Sad, really. But for a lot of people who could not understand why it is that Candace could not tolerate Michael Darby, could not be around him, didn't want to talk to him. I remember season 4 when the incident happened and it was dismissed. Candace did not want to talk to him. Candace did not. She was like keeping him at arm's length. I remember Giselle called Candace out and said, "Oh, you didn't want to hug him? What was wrong?" For years, people have always been on Candace's case. Like, just let it go, Candace, just let it go. If Ashley wants to be with him, Ashley wants to be with him. It now makes sense why Candace has been very stern and stood on business where it concerns that man. So for last season, for Giselle, Ashley, Deborah, whoever else, for them to concoct these stories that painted Chris as a predator, I can see why it was so disturbing to Candace. Giselle basically told an SA survivor that her husband had predatory ways. He made me go in a room with him and he made me feel completely uncomfortable. I've had many married men try me, and I feel like he was trying to see if I was with it. He waited for me. He stood in the hallway and he was waiting for me. My stylist was also uncomfortable because he said Chris knew that he had left and he invited me back to my room. He made me feel completely uncomfortable. He needs to apologize for what he did to me. I don't know how you guys are not understanding why this is a problem for Candace. I said this last season, and I had no clue what Candace's story was. But even if Candace did not have this in her history, I can understand where Candace is coming from. Because you can't tell me I married a monster and I not investigate. You can't tell me that the man I lay my head next to, I sleep under the same roof as this man, He is in my home. He is around my family. He will be the father of my children. You can't tell me that he has predatory traits and behavior and it not be a problem. You have literally removed the rug under my feet. And any person, any sensible person would investigate and want to get down to the very bottom. And when you get down to the very bottom and you see that the person has added a whole bunch of sauce to what actually happened, you gonna have a reaction. Much like what Candace's reaction is. So many of the viewers are stuck on, well, all Giselle said was he made me uncomfortable. Candace is the one implying SA. What Giselle described sounds like an attempt of SA. That's what it sounds like. Anybody who's ever been in a situation like such, we all came to the same conclusion because of the way that she described the encounter. Giselle, you've been around this man and you're friends with him and you talk to him and you insert yourself into conversations that he and his wife are having. You insert yourself into their marital issues. You've done a lot of different things. If this man says, hey, can I talk to you in private? You could have said no. No is a complete sentence. It's a complete thought. You don't need to further elaborate. No will suffice. No, I don't want to talk to you. No. If he had insisted after you said no, I'd be right there with you. Had he just let himself into your room, I'd be right there with you. Had he forced the issue when you asked him to leave, had he not wanted to leave, I would be right there with you, Giselle. But it's the fact of, if you didn't want to be in a room alone with Chris, then you didn't have to be in a room alone with Chris. Soon as you opened that door, you saw that nobody was there. All you had to do was say, nah, not right now, Chris. I don't want to talk to you. You know what? I changed my mind. Let's not. And then had he forced an issue, then baby girl, we'd be talking about something. But none of that happened. He asked to talk to you in the room. You went in the room. Y'all were there. Y'all were talking. You allowed him to talk. I don't understand how that is Chris's wrongdoing. If you didn't want him there, you should have said no. Giselle is acting as if her right or her choice was taken away from her, and it wasn't. When he said, can I talk to you alone in your room? You could have said no. When you say he made me go into the room, when you say those words to me, if my little niece or my cousin, somebody came up to me or a friend of mine said, he made me go into the room with him, you know what picture comes in my head? Someone grabbed you by your arm and forced you into a room. That's what that sounds like to me. It's not what she said, but what she did say, that is the picture that it paints for most people. I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, she was just trying to say he was a cheater. But he didn't say nothing and he didn't do nothing. But he was talking about his wife to you, which he says he didn't even do. He said he was complaining about the two of y'all going back and forth and that y'all needed to chill on that. But then you also say you don't remember what he said. It really feels like, Giselle, you needed a storyline, you needed something, and this was the something, and it blew up in your face. So when I was 15, there was an incident that took place. There was a visitor at our house that came over to eat. My brother brought him along. There was an argument that took place between my brother and I, my uncle, my grandmother, and her husband. They all kind of like ganged up on me. And I'm the type of person, when you gang up on me, you back me into a corner, I'm going to bite. Okay? I'm going up. Boop, 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 boop. I get very belligerent. I do. It's not nice. But that's just what it is. And that's just what had happened. So, yeah, I cut up in front of company. And, you know, of course, eventually it calmed down, whatever. So when this visitor was leaving, he asked to speak with me outside. Now, I believe all of us, you know, the consensus was, oh, he's going to go talk to her and say, oh, you know, you should respect your elders. Don't argue with your family. They care about you, yada, 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 yada. And he was like, can we talk outside? I said, no, I ain't want to talk. Of course, I was encouraged. I was strong-armed. The adults that were supposed to protect me were like, go talk to him. Don't be rude. Don't be disrespectful. Go and talk to him. So against my better judgment, I go outside and I talk with this man. And I too thought he was going to tell me, you know, oh, you need to be respectful to your elders. No, that's not what he was talking about. Not at all. That man tried me. This man was in his 40s. I was 15. And this man absolutely shot his shot. He saw that I was a young girl having a disagreement with her family and thought he could take advantage. And luckily for me, I can be a real mean bitch. So I did not fall victim to him. But my choice was somewhat taken away. I didn't want to go talk to him, and my grandmother, my brother, my uncle's like, oh, go talk to him. You know, you need to talk to him. He's an adult. Don't be disrespectful. Don't be rude. And so I went and spoke with him. Now, what we didn't know at the time is the reason he was even in town is because he was evading a child molestation charge or accusation at the time, which eventually became a charge, which he eventually got convicted of and served time and all of that. And well, we didn't know that at the time. And when we did find out, I didn't say anything. I was just like, I'm not surprised. I never told anyone until I was grown. I mean, I was grown when I finally said something. And of course, like, my mom was pissed. Like, why didn't you tell me? And why didn't I tell you? I didn't tell y'all because y'all forced me to go talk to him. Like, y'all literally spoon-fed me to the man. So what you talking about? Years after that, I finally told my brother. And my brother was also livid. Like, why didn't you say anything? And I had to explain to my brother, like, look, y'all had just got through going off on me, tearing me down. We going back and forth. The situation was ugly. And then you wanted me to come back in the house and tell y'all that this man did X, Y, and Z to me or tried to do this to me. Were you guys even going to believe me? Because in my headspace as a 15-year-old girl, I didn't feel like I was going to be believed. I was embarrassed. I felt so many different emotions that I just decided to keep it to myself and go on by my day. And he knew that. He knew that I wasn't going to say anything. That's why he did the shit. I say all of that to say that I understand what it's like for someone to take your choice away from you. I know what it's like to feel that you're not going to be believed. I know how hard it is to speak up. I know how it feels to be embarrassed and ashamed and scared and like, and unsettled. I know how that feels. So I did see a lot of comments on Twitter where people were like, well, she should have said something right away. I think ideally we would prefer that people spoke up right away, but I also know how hard that can be sometimes as well. The problem I have with Giselle is not how long it took her to speak. The problem I have with Giselle is, like, you've made light of SA claims so many times. You make jokes out of it. You know, it's good TV in your mind. You took this situation that you said made you feel away, made you feel uncomfortable. You took this situation and you bastardized it for TV. I think that's what a lot of people have a problem with. Okay, you waited to tell Candace on camera, fine. If that's how you wanted to tell her, fine. But you definitely painted the picture as if you were victimized in some kind of way. And from all the accounts, I'm not seeing where you were victimized. You have a good friendship with Chris. You have friendly rapport. You talk to him. You say all types of stuff to him. You interject yourself in conversation. We've seen you go to his house asking for him. Where's Chris? Always bringing up Chris. And now all of a sudden he makes you uncomfortable. You have a right to say that. You have a right to feel however you feel and express it. But when you put that together with you saying, oh, I heard he was grabbing Deborah's butt, he was feeling her butt. When you put that together with the footage, that we see you going to meet up with Ashley and Deborah and the rest of the women, and y'all made a night of it, and you're laughing, and you're like, you know, asking, so this happened? Have you ever met him before? And you're making it, you're sensationalizing it. It's like, were you victimized or not? Did he do something bad to you or not? Because you're playing, it seems like you're hopping back and forth over the fence. It's weird. It's weird, and it is triggering for someone who has actually had a violation to see you do this on television. It's problematic. When last season we saw her link up with Ashley and her friends, and she was asking Deborah what happened, and Deborah's telling you, yeah, he was doing this, and he was looking at me, and he was talking to me, and he was doing all of this. And Deborah said something like, oh, next time I'll have a longer conversation with Chris. Seemed like a setup to me. Because if the whole purpose of this was Chris is going around making these women feel uncomfortable, and we must bring it to Candace's attention so that the behavior can stop, why would Deborah want to have a longer conversation with Chris? It's like, y'all fucked up. Why, when y'all had the spring fling party, why did Ashley jump out of her seat to hug Chris? Why did Giselle jump out of her seat to give Chris a hug as well? Why? If he makes you guys uncomfortable. Because everyone said, oh, well, she just said that. Now, was it? No, that wasn't it. Giselle said that he DMs her on social media and it's not a comfortable thing for her. But she goes along with it. You said he goes around and he makes the other women feel uncomfortable. He's crossing boundaries. When she sat down and spoke to Karen, she was like, it felt wrong in my gut. It was wrong. I didn't like what was happening to me. If he felt super comfortable and was thinking that you were his homie and y'all could talk, and if he felt so comfortable that he could talk to you in a room with the door closed, that's not him making you uncomfortable. If the situation made you uncomfortable, you have every right to say that. But you're trying to make it seem like he knew it made you uncomfortable and did it anyways. And that's not the case. It just really gets under my skin, the fact that when Giselle speaks on this matter, she makes it really seem like her rights were taken away from her. Like Chris took her ability to say no away from her. That's what bothers us. That is what puts it under the umbrella of SA. Because it appears to me a lot of y'all don't know what is assault and what isn't assault, what is harassment and what isn't harassment. The reason why it looks this way is because it's the way that Giselle described this situation. If Giselle had just said, girl, your man tried me, girl, he came in that room and was trying to flirt with me and whatever, then it would make sense. But you make it seem like he forced you to do something that you didn't have, like you had no way of saying no. At this point, we still have not gotten an answer from Giselle. Giselle, when he asked you, he requested, hey, can we speak in private in your room? You could have said no. Why didn't you say no? When you asked him to leave, he left. So I'm pretty sure he would have honored your no. And we wouldn't be having going through any of this. Because the way that we are like getting to the bottom of this story, I don't even like it. It makes me feel icky. It makes me feel like we're attacking her and we're going against what she's saying. But it's like, if she just said her story, this is what happened, and just left it at that, it would be different. But when you attach it to all the extra salacious things that never even happened, but you tried to make it like good for TV, that invalidates your experience. You're saying that Candace was trying to diminish how you felt. No, you diminished how you felt by adding all this sauce on stuff. The way she was like laughing, oh girl, Ashley dropping bombs. When you do that, you invalidated your story. You are the one that made your story seem like bullshit. And that's disturbing. When, you know, I understood where Candace was coming from. I know Candace, I ain't gonna lie, I love my Candy girl. Okay, I love her, but ooh, child. I hated seeing how people were attacking her because everyone wants Giselle to be able to say how she felt. But when Candace says how she feels, she needs to shut up. She needs to leave the show. Why? Giselle said how she felt for a whole year. So when Candace says, this triggers me, what she's saying, coupled with the fact that we now know that Candace has had her own experience, why is Candace not allowed to say, I feel a way? You told me my husband did X, Y, and Z to you, and it triggered my own trauma. Why is Candace not allowed to say that? I will say this. I appreciated the little conversation that Giselle had with the founder of the PAVE organization. I think she's the founder. If she's not, my apologies. But she asked, you know, should Grace even walk to classes by herself? And basically, the lady said, teach Grace to honor her instinct. She has a God-given instinct. If she feels like something is wrong, it's probably wrong. Don't be polite. Do not be polite, because being polite is what gets a lot of us in trouble. We don't want people to be like, oh, she acted a certain way. So we go against our better judgment and we are polite to others, and we have to live with the consequences, right? And that seems to be an ongoing thing. I appreciated that. But I do wish that Giselle would have taken the opportunity in her confessionals to admit that she has handled the topic of SA on this show irresponsibly over the years. And I wish she would have pointed out that this is a very serious matter. No pun intended. If you know, you know. But I do wish that she would have acknowledged, like, you know, in the past, I've said things and I've played around and I've joked around, but this is a serious issue and we need to do better. Starting with herself. You implied some things about Chris. It was really wrong. Did you think about Candace at all? Like, I remember last season when they were talking about it, she was like, oh, I know that Candace is very sensitive. I don't know if Giselle knew that Candace was also a survivor. She might or she might not have known. But now that we do know, it's like, it makes even more sense why Candace has the reaction that she has. You find a person that you love and that you're married to and you're committed to, and someone tells you that they are a monster, that is disturbing. You're going to feel a way about it. And a lot of people are like, oh, why is she acting this way? Why is she not allowed to act the way that she wants? Like, I don't understand. Why is her reactions always policed? But when people provoke her actions, it's fine. It's okay for them to provoke a reaction out of her. It's okay for them to start with her. But she has to manage how she reacts. I feel like there should be no etiquette. There's no etiquette. When someone comes for you, you do what you gotta do. But anyways, we talked about this. We have beat this horse to the damn ground and under it. I just have to say my thoughts because, yo, Twitter is... y'all acting real ignorant and real... Y'all being real foolish on Twitter right about now. Y'all really, really are. I wish that... Honestly, I really wish that this reunion, that we could put this to bed. Giselle needs to own what she did. Giselle needs to own what she did. She's never going to come out flat out and say, look, me and Ashley plotted against Chris and Candace. They're never going to do that. But I need her to really be real and own that you were very reckless. I need her to own that she was reckless. I need her to own that she implied something and she painted a picture of something that wasn't what it was. You are entitled to express that you felt uncomfortable in that room with Chris. And if you didn't say it at the time, you didn't say it at the time. Okay? That has no expiration date of when you want to tell your story. But the way that you went around, the way that the conversation with Karen, the conversation you had with Candace, you bringing Cal into it, all of those things, you sauced it up to make it look like something that it wasn't. I need her to own that. Not just, oh, I apologize for saying sneaky link. That's not it. That don't cut it. I really need her to just own it. Like, you know what? I went too far. Sometimes I overdo things, and seeing these women have real stories, and these things have really happened to these women, and these women that I work with are all survivors. I need her to acknowledge I work with women, I'm friends with women who really went through a nightmare, and I should have been more sensitive how I handled last season. That's all we need from her. And then we could probably move on. But the fact that she tried to sit there and be like, oh my God, Karen Huger, that's why we love Karen Huger. You know, she always throws an event. It's malarkey. Because when Karen was doing these events before, you didn't have the same sentiment. You weren't as supportive. You're doing this because you're trying to rebrand after the bullshit you pulled last year. And we ain't forgot. And we ain't never gonna forget until you address it. But anyways, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.